Welcome to the Grassroots Army Podcast. This platform is for common sense people looking for up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information without the hot garbage corporate media bias. The power of one can lead to the power of many. You never know what small act that you may say or do that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. And don't you ever think that you can't make a difference, because you can. Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. Holy cow, we have a lot to talk about here today, that is for sure, especially with the debate last night. And I'm seeing all over social media people's perspective of who won, who didn't win, cheating, moderators sucked. It goes on and on. So I'm going to give you my perspective on what I watched last night. And like many of you, I'm very frustrated because I firmly believe at this time, unless something changes, we're going to analyze some things today, but this debate changed nothing. It really didn't. Kamala Harris, she still hides behind a veil of silence, keeping her positions from the American people. Donald Trump still is Donald Trump. He remained the same. And of course, the legacy media, we all knew this. They're useless. They're more useless now more than ever, serving their agenda, except for, or instead of the truth. You know, so I really firmly believe that who lost last night was the people. Because there was a lot of fact checking on one end and a lack of fact checking on the other. Now, look, when you go into enemy territory, ABC News, which is enemy territory, one thing that I've been saying for months, if not years. The Democrats are very good at what? Lying. And then what happens? They run with the lie. And the corporate media repeats the lie. And then the social media minions gush over the lies. And when they're called out, unfortunately, they weren't last night, but I will today, they just switch to another lie. That's what they do. That's their game plan. And it's funny, I was having this conversation with my wife this morning, and I was really trying to watch that debate last night as an independent, which is very hard, as an independent through their lens of what they kind of live their reality as. Okay? That's how I used to live my reality. Before the COVID, before the pandemic, before I stood up, I was that just normal, average American who would go to the polls or to vote and vote straight ticket. Not even realize who I was voting for. That's just who I was. I was very comfortable in my life, with my job, with my career, with the amount of money I was accumulating for retirement. It goes on. And so everything was fine and dandy until my constitutional freedoms, my sacred values and citizens' rights were infringed upon. And then I was awakened, as we say. And I wasn't trying to watch that debate last night through that lens, because what I saw last night was a bunch of hot garbage, was the same rodeo, the same goat clown show, goat rodeo, as they say, that the Dems have been pulling for years. Because what they do is they stay very calm, cool, and collective with their lies. Because when they do that, they appear that they're telling the truth. Let me give you an example before we analyze the debate. Everything that they did with the lockdowns, right? They would stay calm and cool, like, well, we're going to lock down society. We're going to shut your businesses, and you can't go to church. You got to separate yourself. You got to do social distancing. And you're doing this not for you, but for your family. And you want to do what's right for, little Johnny down the street or the Walmart greeter in the stores. You want to protect them. It's not about you and your family. It's about them. And us, we were freaking out, going, no. There's no research supporting this. And if you lock down society, you're going to throttle our economy, and you're going to put us into a mental health crisis, and you're going to damage our kids' education. And they still stayed to their guns and say, yeah, maybe not, but we're just going to protect all of society because of this virus. We have to, right? And then they evolved it into the mandates. Well, you got to mask up, America, because, it's not about you. It's about the Walmart greeter. It's about little Johnny. It's about the teachers, right? We don't want to affect the teachers. Right. And all of us are screaming, going, no, like there's no research that supports that. This virus is only dangerous to immunocompromised people who are at risk, like the elderly, people with cancer and stuff like that. Let's protect them, but the rest of us can go on through society. And they say, no, we're just going to mask up. And then we're going to basically like bury any therapeutic that would help with this virus. Remember ivermectin and everything else that we were like, well, this works. No, it doesn't. You guys are all conspiracy theorists. That's just horse paste, right? And they just continue to hammer down and stay calm, cool, and collective. And we just started getting more passionate and more angry because we knew the truth. And then it evolved into the vaccine. And again, here we go, kicking and screaming. You shouldn't be mandating this thing. It should be a personal choice because there's no long-term safety and efficacy studies. I can go on and on and on, right? So I was trying to take passionate, very, very passionate Garrett out of the equation last night. And I was just trying to watch that debate as a moderate would, as old Garrett would, right? Not knowing what truly goes on, not knowing and being aware of the classical conditioning, which the Democrats are very good at, about pushing out a narrative in the corporate media and their social media minions and everything else. I was just trying to watch it as an independent. And if you looked at that lens on what they push out about President Trump, they were successful at exposing his anger because he got angry, rightfully so. Most of us who follow me, right, we're very angry. We continue to be angry because we know what's going on. We've been unplugged at this reality that the Democrats claim is truth, and it's not. And I can see why he would get angry, but they exposed him and got him off of his policy and got him on the defense. Hey, we all know ABC moderators, it was Team Kamala last night. It was 3-1, which is a very hostile environment. So here's where I like to relate it to, because I'm an old football player. When you go into enemy territory, when you play out of conference, I played in the Mid-American Conference, and we knew when we would play the Wisconsins, or we played the SEC, when we played Florida or Vanderbilt or Missouri, or we played Iowa, or we played Michigan State, the list goes on and on. We knew when we would go play at their stadium, we were going to get their refs. We were going to get their crowds. We weren't going to get any calls. We were going to get calls against us. And so you have to be prepared for that mentality. You can't go into that game, and then when things start going south and the crowd noise is going crazy and the refs aren't giving you the calls and they're actually making flags against your team, you can't buy into that, and you can't kick and scream and do a hissy fit. You got to grind it out. You have to grind it out, because if not, you'll fail. And unfortunately, last night, I don't know if Trump's team didn't prepare him enough for that, or he just got off tilt because he got very angry because they were constantly 3-1. I get it all. But holy cow, did the Democrats execute their game plan last night? They really did. And a lot of you may not want to hear it, but they did, as exposing Trump as somebody who's going to be divisive, who's somebody who's very angry, right? And they just continue to fuel that narrative, even though we all know it's garbage. Now, people are like, you don't support President Trump. Absolutely not. I support President Trump 100%. I'll continue to support him. But you guys know me. I'm going to call out what I see. That's why you guys follow me. You may not like everything I like to say, but I'm going to give you what I've seen and my perspective on things. And I hope you value that, because let's analyze some of the things. Holy cow. Did they just run with a bunch of lies? And I got a list of them right here. And if you were an independent, as the lens I was trying to watch it through last night, you'd be like, holy cow, like President Trump is really bad. So let's go through some of these lies. And I'm not even going to go through all of them because I don't have a long enough show to go through all of them. But I have a list, okay? So let's just talk about some of the lies that they're putting out and how the ABC clowns didn't fact check Kamala. They kept fact checking President Trump, even with lies, right? And President Trump was constantly on the defense. That's why you felt his anger, because it was 3-1. But let's talk about the very fine people hoax. Harris claimed last night that Trump called neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. Very fine people. This is a widely known hoax that the Democrats continue to repeat, despite it being debunked for years. And all of us know this who have been awakened. But again, you look through the lens of the middle, what do they hear, right? It's conditioning, all right? It's insane that they still talk about this. The Project 2025 hoax. They continue to run with it. The White House press secretary corps, right? They'll talk about these things. And KG or JP, Cron Jean-Pierre, excuse me, it's late, I've been up all night, runs with it. And she accused of Trump wanting to implement Project 2025, which again, this is false. Trump has repeatedly stated that he has nothing to do with it and hasn't even read it, but that doesn't matter. Harris claimed that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit. That was one of the highest we've ever seen in America. This is false. The trade deficit, got the number right here, climbed to around $653 billion in Trump's final year as president, and part of a depressed global demand for U.S. goods and services and a U.S. economy that recovered sooner than most in other developed countries. But the trade deficit never rose to the level seen under former President George Bush or the Biden-Harris administration. So again, no fact check by clowns at ABC, but we all knew this. Putin can do whatever the hell he wants, they claimed, right? That's what Harris claimed, that Trump told Russian President Vladimir Putin that he could do whatever the hell he wants to go into Ukraine. Again, false. Trump never told Putin that he could do whatever the hell he wants, and he never told Putin he could invade Ukraine, all right? Who allowed Putin to invade Ukraine? The Obama administration and also the Biden-Harris administration. This false claim is also coupled with stark gaslighting, given that Putin appears to be doing whatever he wants during the Biden-Harris administration, such as invading Ukraine, and not during the Trump administration. Dude, the lies just go on, and this is what's frustrating. But again, what did the middle hear last night, right? A bunch of lies that didn't get fact-checked by the moderators, and so they run with the lies. Very effective. This is very effective. A dictator on day one hoax. I keep hearing this. Harris claimed that Trump wants to be a dictator on day one. This is obviously false. Trump has never said this. And here's the interesting part. If he was going to be a dictator on day one, why didn't he do it in his last administration? Okay. And oddly, Harris attempted to justify her claim by making another false claim, which was that the 43rd president told Putin he could do whatever the hell he wants. Right? Again, pushing a lie. And if you talk about allowing Putin to do whatever the hell he wants, what administration has been allowing that? The Kamala Biden administration. Just the facts. They actually attempted to blame the botched Afghanistan withdrawal on Trump. I mean, as another example, a never seen before gaslighting from these people, and they're good at it. Harris blamed her and Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal on Trump. Unbelievable. These folks who lost their loved ones at the gate are probably just beyond furious right now. And after being asked point blank, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that the withdrawal was played out? Harris went on her word salad talking about Trump's communications with the Taliban, suggesting that the Biden administration is not responsible for its own botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Unbelievable. Putin would be sitting in Kyiv. Harris claims Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe if Trump were president. This is false. Russia under Putin invaded neighbors actually during the George Bush era, right? Barack Obama and Joe Biden, but never during the Trump administration. Again, no fact check. And I'm still going. We have a lot more to cover. This is one debate, folks. This is the debauchery that we saw last night. The bloodbath hoax. Harris also repeated the bloodbath hoax, falsely claiming that Trump called for a bloodbath if he lost the election. This is a long debunked hoax, as Trump was referring to the car industry. See what they do? They tell a lie, right? The corporate media runs with the lie. They don't fact check it. And then the social media minions rush in to support the lie. Classical conditioning at its finest. Abortion monitor hoax. Harris claimed that Trump wanted an abortion monitor. This is false. Trump has never said anything like that. Trump put it back to the states where it rightfully belongs. Hey, if you want to kill babies, vote on it like they did, unfortunately, in the state of Michigan, and you can kill babies. That's it. Put the power back in the states. The federal government should keep their butts out of that. The rental property hoax. Harris claimed that Trump refused to rent property to black families. Oh my gosh, it's so infuriating that they go this low. All right, so let's analyze that claim. This claim has been made for years, but has never been proven. In 2016, the Associated Press did, in fact, check on the claim, reporting that Trump and his father settled a government lawsuit about it with no admission of fault. That's it. But they run with this hoax. The Central Park 5 execution hoax. You guys remember hearing this last night? Harris claimed that Trump called for the execution of the Central Park 5. Again, this is false. Trump never specifically called for the execution of the Central Park 5 defendants. Breitbart News, where a lot of this comes from, fact checks this claim when Democrats made it at their convention last month. Again, they don't care. They'll lie right to your face with a smile on their face, by the way. Suckers and losers hoax. Harris alluded to the suckers and losers hoax by claiming that Trump had disbarred the military, including the following. This is false. The false claim that Trump called dead soldiers suckers and losers is a familiar hoax that had also been repeated by President Joe Biden. It stems from the report by the left-wing Atlantic, which has never been directly corroborated, have been refuted by eyewitnesses. Again, they'll just continue to lie. False fracking claims. We all know they were going to lie about the fracking. Harris claims she never called to ban fracking. This is false. This is false. She explicitly called to end fracking when running for president in 2019. False oil production claims. Harris claimed that the Biden administration ramped up oil production. This is false. The Biden-Harris administration has actively worked to curb domestic oil production. It just goes on and on. I mean, there's too many to even go into. One of the things she said, I was raised middle class. Harris claims she has been raised in the middle class in an upbringing, saying, I was raised as a middle class kid, and I'm actually the one person on the stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. This is mostly false. Harris had a rich Canadian upbringing growing up in Westmount, a majority English neighborhood in the French province of Quebec. Taking guns away, we all know that she's going to take our guns away. She's going to attempt. Harris claimed that she and her running mate, Tim Walz, are not taking anyone's guns away. This is false. Harris campaigned on banning AR-15s and other guns that Democrats labeled assault weapons, right? Just last month, during their first campaign event together, Harris and Walz pushed for a ban on AR-15s and other guns. So, wow, it's frustrating when you hear all that. That's one debate. That's not an entire campaign that you talk about all the lies of the campaign. Folks, they did it right to your face in front of tens of millions of people, right? And they do it calm, cool, collective, with a smile. No accountability for past actions, no accountability whatsoever. And that's why the majority of us who are awakened are so frustrated with what we saw last night, is they were constantly on the offensive, and it seemed like President Trump was on the defensive, okay? Which is frustrating, okay? So let's analyze some things. I talked to a person the other day, because I like to have conversations with people who, may not think like me. I like to see how they're thinking, what they're thinking. This guy claims that he is a moderate Republican. He is a therapist. And he was saying, you know what? I haven't made up my mind yet. I was like, how is that? How have you not made up your mind? And he said, well, I watched J.D. Vance's documentary. This is how these people think. I watched his documentary. And as a therapist, he has to have a lot of trauma from how he was raised and what he went through and what he saw. I said, well, yeah, people do. But what do? You put on your bootstraps and you get through it and you learn from it and you make sure it's not repeated, right? Everybody has some type of trauma, some more than others. I get it. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be scarred for the rest of your life. But this is how therapists think, right? That is he really capable of being a vice president, with all this trauma in his childhood? I was like, interesting you would say that, because let's look at the other guy, Walz, who put tampons in boys' bathrooms, allows boys to use girls' locker rooms and restrooms, is for men competing in women's sports. And the therapist just kind of looked at me. He said, well, yeah. I said, do you think that's a problem? Well, yeah. I said, but you're analyzing one guy and what he went through, and there's no evidence that it's affecting him. And you have the other guy who's actually following through with doing crazy, bizarre things, but the Democrats don't want to talk about that, right? No, that's up to the school boards. It's up to the city councils, all the other stuff. They don't claim it. That's why you never hear Governor Whitmer talk about it. That's why you will never see, Elisa Slotkin address it. And we're all saying, what the hell's going on here? This is insane. Why are we doing this? They just don't talk about it. They just put out lies. See, the things that they can be held accountable for, they stay very quiet. You guys watched the Cuomo committee hearing yesterday, where, again, just a bunch of grandstanding by all of our congressmen and women, yelling at him, accusing him, but there's no accountability, right? Even though he murdered people in nursing homes, which, by the way, our governor here did too. She put COVID-infected people in nursing homes, resulting in the deaths. Whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally, you're still accountable for making those decisions. You don't get a get out of jail free card with me, especially when all the research started to show what this virus truly was, and you could have made different decisions, but you, our nanny governor here in the state of Michigan, doubled down and locked us up longer, right? Kept our kids out of school longer, hammered down on our restaurants, everything else longer, when Florida and all the other states were opening up and doing it right at the time. And all they did was gaslit and attack them, and COVID hell was upon them. No accountability. No accountability for Fauci. No accountability for any of these elected officials. And that is what's so frustrating, right? And that's why they were successful in their narrative last night. Here's what I'm worried about, is they'll do another debate here in the next month, which there's talks right now. Let's do another debate in October. They're very good at pushing out data. And this will give the Dems another month to prepare to do something to get some type of jobs report or economy report, or there'll be a ceasefire in the Middle East, right? And then they're going to go out and they're going to paint this beautiful sunshine and rainbow picture that everything's beautiful. Look at it. It's all working. We don't want this angry, divisive person leading this company. We want somebody like Kamala, who's going to bring peace and prosperity and unity and paint this beautiful picture as our country continues to burn, right? That's what I'm afraid of. That's what's going to happen, because the people in the middle will fall for it. They will, because they have such severe Trump derangement syndrome, because they have been programmed to feel that way, and they can't see, and they're blind. It's classical conditioning, AKA typically brainwashing, right? That's what I'm afraid of. So we're going to see if that goes and happens. But that's what their play is. That's why she doesn't want live audiences. They don't want any of that, because they want to control the narrative. Because when they control the narrative and have the ability to control the narrative, they're effective. They really are. And a lot of you may not want to hear that, but they truly are effective. Okay? Here's one of the positives about last night, is Trump's closing statement. It was beautiful. Let's listen in.
Started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like, we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
See, that was an absolute fantastic closing statement. It truly was. However, the majority of people probably didn't see it because that debate was over within the first 15 minutes. People probably tuned it off. That's the problem. I wish he would have started with that energy and common sense to engage that middle, but it didn't go that way. So that's why I wanted to show that closing statement, because a lot of people probably went to bed and didn't see what he had to say, which was perfect. It truly was. And the last thing I want to cover before I talk about the next event that me and actually my man, Kevin Rinke, will be doing in Shiawassee County on Tuesday is the question regarding January 6th. Okay. They asked President Trump, do you have any regrets on what happened on January 6th? He didn't answer it well. And I wish he would have just said this. Hey, if I have one regret on January 6th, I wish I would have pushed Nancy Pelosi a little more to allow the over 10,000 National Guard troops that I requested to say that you were going to have, and she denied that request. I wish I would have pushed her to get those National Guard troops in. That's all he would have to say. And then it would have went to the next one. And he just didn't answer it as well as he could have. And hopefully if there's another debate, he can be a little bit more like he was in that closing statement to get that middle. Okay. Moving on Tuesday, folks, we're coming. Shiawassee County. We're coming to your city. Immanuel Baptist Church. The address is in the description. Corunna, Michigan, 2680 East M21. Me and my man Kevin Rinke will be there to speak, motivate Michigan and America's greatest asset, we the people, to continue to stay activated as we continue to take back our state and our country. So if you guys are in the Owasso area, come on over. Come on and have a good conversation. Me and Kevin will be speaking. I think there will be some local candidates there too, but we will continue to go around on the Grassroots Army Tour, inspiring and activating all of you to stay involved, which brings me to my last point. Still helping fundraise for an organization to fight back at school boards. You guys have been watching me over the past several years now. I've been standing up for a variety of different issues. School boards are very passionate to me, is allow these school boards to get right representation so there's constructive conversation. Unfortunately, these school boards in public schools have been taken over by the woke left, and they have dug their heels in the stand, and they refuse to listen to the parents and constituents, and they continue to make policy for the very, very small minority that's having a negative impact on the group as a whole. So I'm fundraising. If you guys would like to donate $20, okay, I will send you this book, all right? My book. I'm a published author. God's True Law. I wrote this over a decade ago about the parents God raising successful children. You guys have been following me. I've been talking about this for a while now. It's 150 pages, all right? $20. I'll donate all net proceeds to the school board candidates who are fighting in Rochester Community Schools to help them with their campaign. But this book, it doesn't teach you how to teach. It teaches the parent to quit screwing up your kids and how you think, how you act, and everything else. So it's basically a self-help for the parents. You listen or you get to read a little bit about my past and my journey on some things. And I was going to actually rewrite this book, but didn't have time because the pandemic happened, because I am obviously an older father and have a lot more information to put in there. I'd love to write a book about the psychology of the pandemic, maybe one day, but right now I'm boots on the ground with all of you trying to make a difference. So you can go to PayPal at Garrett Soldano. You can go to Venmo, Garrett-Soldano. In the description, there are those specific on how to spell my name. Give $20. I'll send you an autographed copy. If you want to mail me a check, just message me, and then I will message you my address. You can send me a check for $20. And then we'll get those books out to you. I hope you enjoy the read. Okay. So until next time, keep standing up, keep fighting back. I will continue to do my part and bring you up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information. God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless these United States. Talk to you.